to the last lecture. How's everybody feeling? Are you all here because you've finished your assignment or you haven't finished your assignment, or how are you going with it? Some blank faces there. One big smile. All right, so you might have seen we do have a one-day extension for assignment 2. So it's due just on Saturday, the next day at 5 p.m. That's the official deadline for everybody. If you had an extension for something else, you'd get that on top of it. And that's because of the issues that, you know, we were going to have with the servers. They didn't end up actually being very disruptive, but it was still disruptive because we'd moved some help sessions around and, you know. All right. Has anybody looked at the assignment 2 FAQ forum post? So we've found that there's a lot of questions that a lot of people are asking the same kind of thing. So if you're still working on the assignment, there might be some things that you can just find out straight away by looking at this. You know, why is my player's health too high? Blah, blah, blah. So just check this before you post, because you might be able to get the information straight away instead of having to wait for a few hours or however long it's going to take. All right, any questions about the assignment deadline? Any questions about this? All right. Okay, MyExperience surveys. So hopefully everybody's filled it in. I think we still have less than 50% of the course that have filled it in. So we really are asking people to fill it in. What can we promise you if you fill it in, and nothing really, but we just encourage you to do it. Okay. All right, practice exams. Who's done it? Who went along and tried out the exam environment? Okay, and did that make you feel more positive about the exam? Neutral? Worse? How did you go with it? Any questions? Okay, and a few people have been asking these 3 things. Yeah, we run it in the lab. The lab only goes for 2 hours. It's 3 hours worth of exam. We don't expect you to finish it all. It would be you'd have to be amazingly good, crazy to be able to finish it in 2 hours. We just want you to submit at least, or auto test even, 1 question from the lab, from the practice exam, whether you do it in the exam environment, in the face-to-face lab, or at home, just through VLab, that's okay. And if you submitted it or did auto tests in the exam account, that's not going to turn up on the submissions page that you look at, but you'll still get the marks for it, so don't worry, okay? All right, everybody, I hope by now knows when the exam is, and I hope everybody knows exactly what time their exam's on. You should have all gotten an email telling you the exact time and the exact location. So we've had a few questions about that. Did anybody not get that email? If anybody hasn't got that email and they're concerned, please contact CS1511 email and we'll get back to you and work it out. But otherwise, please check your official UNSW emails. In case you do have to do a supplementary exam, which I'm hoping, you know, not many people have to do, that's going to be in January 21st, 2025, obviously. That's for people who are sick and missed the exam, not for people that just wanted a second sort of go at it because they didn't do as well as they wanted. So that's finalised, that's the finalised date. So if you are sick or you missed the exam for some reason that's official and documented and you get special consideration, you're going to need to be around in that time to do this supplementary exam. All right, week 11 revision sessions. You might all be focusing on trying to get your assignment done at the moment, but you know, once that's in, you might want to start studying for the exam. There are revision sessions next week, Monday and Wednesday. There's a face-to-face one and an online one. So these are advertised on the forum as well, and you can book in and get tickets. Typically, if you want to get tickets to the online one and it says it's full, just let us know. Yep.
Is it recorded?
They're not recorded. The revision sessions aren't recorded generally because they're not sort of a lecture style thing. They're a bit interactive. So not all the students want to be recorded, or it can stop people sort of asking those things. But this is another thing I wanted to talk about because I don't think everyone realises. Let me go. I should go somewhere here. Because some people have said, what can I study? So of course you can go back and do the problem sets again. Let me go to say week 2. There are extra challenges. Even though it says extra challenges, they're not all challenge questions. Some of them are 1 dot or 2 dot questions. Some of them are challenge for people who want that challenge. So there's extra material there to practice. And in some weeks, there's also revision. Now this is the revision that that they go through in the revision sessions. And these are like a whole bunch of sort of like lab questions of different dot levels. And for revision sessions, they're not going to be challenge ones. They're just going to be basic stuff. So they weren't on every week, but I think in week 4, maybe week 7, week 9, oh, maybe not week 9. When was the next one? Oh, week 8. So they're in various weeks. The week 11 ones that are on next week, they won't be recorded, but you will get the content up here to use as revision material. So if you haven't done those already, or even if you have, they're good exercises to try again. And there should be, like, you don't need to submit them or anything, but you can just try them out. Okay. Oops, let me start these slides again. All right, yeah, so this is what I was saying. So you've got a full practice exam from the week 10 labs that you've got access to do later, or if you didn't do it. We've got a whole bunch of practice exam questions today. I showed you some on Monday, but I've got lots more, and lots more that we won't go through that I'll leave for you to do on your own as self-study. And if at some point you did want a video of any of those solutions, just let me know. Yeah, I've gone over these ones. Also, sometimes in the lecture, we do coding examples. You can always go back and look at those examples and try them again without just looking at the answers. So there are all sorts of things that I think are really helpful. Any questions about that or study resources? All right, the other thing is, in the exam, you're not going to get like a whole assignment like CS Dungeon or CS Moonlander, of course, but some of the particular functions you write in there, they might be the style of some of, they're good practice for the exam too, right? Often you're manipulating a linked list in CS Dungeon. That's directly going to help you in the exam. So all the time you're spending debugging and programming on CS Dungeon is really going to help you in the exam. Okay. So yeah, today we're just going to do more revision, and I'm going to show you where to access these extra questions. Oh, I forgot to write here at the end, some of the tutors are going to get up and you can ask them questions about what courses they recommend to enroll in next term, study tips, I don't know, internships, whatever else you want to ask them about. That's the last sort of half an hour. All right. Do we want to start with a Kahoot, the final Kahoot, or debugging linked lists? Or an array hurdle question? Hands up for Kahoot. Hands up for array hurdle question. Hands up for linked list debugging. Oh goodness, I don't know. Huh? Array? Who said that? All right. We're going to do all those things. All right. Look, let's start with the array one because you've probably been doing a lot of linked list coding at the moment. let me find it. And after that, then we'll do a Kahoot, just so we're not doing too much programming all at once. Okay, so this is an example. So on Monday, we did an example of like a 1-dot sort of array hurdle. This is the example of a 2-dot one. So remember, in the real exam, you're going to have a question that is written with a lot more detail and a lot more examples than this. So write a C program that reads integers into an array. And honestly, the wording here is very confusing. But you want to stop the loop when you read in a number that, when multiplied by one of the previous numbers, equals 56. So we type in 2, and we need to look back at any previous numbers we've entered. There are none. We type in 3. We look back at previous numbers we've entered. 3 times 2 does not equal 56. We type in 28. We go back and check. 28 times 2. Oh, that does equal 56, right? Or we might have had to go to the next one and try it. So we're kind of doing two things. We're reading in numbers, but then we're checking all the previous numbers to see if we get 56 when we multiply them together. And that's when we're going to end our loop. So this is like a harder hurdle question. This is one of the sort of second ones. So let's go to the code for that. So which one's this? Array multiplied. All right, so have a think. How could we do this question? I'm just going to shut that door because the bathroom's kind of noisy. There we go, that's better. So, I mean, the first thing is, because the question is labelled as an array hurdle, one thing you know for sure is what? You're going to need an array. So if you're trying to do an array hurdle and somehow you're not using an array, there's something going wrong. So we've kind of, in a question, it might tell you the maximum size you can make your array by saying the maximum number of elements we could enter is whatever. And that will tell you, for the array hurdles, how big to make it. So for an array hurdle, we wouldn't expect you to have to, for this 2-dot hurdle, we wouldn't expect you to be reallocating or anything crazy like that. All right, so we've got an array. Now, we want to repeatedly read stuff into our array. The stopping condition in this one is a bit more difficult because we want to stop when we can multiply by something and get 56. So it's not so easy to set up this condition, but you know, we do want to read in a number each time. Where are we going to put it? We probably want to put it in our array. And to do that, I'm going to need some sort of, how do I know where to put it in the array? What do? I need some sort of counter to keep track of what index I want to put the next one in. So I'll just call this counter. So each time I just want to go to the array at that particular index. The first time it will be putting it in index 0. My pen's not here. The first time it'll be putting in index 0. And you know, the next time we're going to be incrementing that counter. Now, just to make sure we're actually reading in a number, might be helpful to have this condition like this. If we successfully read in a number, it wasn't Control D, it wasn't something else, we'll keep going. The other condition might be, and maybe we don't have to check for this in the question, but usually you just want to check that your counter was still less than the max size, so you don't go over the bounds of the array. And somehow we've got to work out whether something's been multiplied and equals 56. I'm just going to put that there because we haven't sort of worked out how to do that yet. That's another time we might want to end the loop. And then we want to just keep incrementing this counter. So this loop here is just going to keep reading stuff into our array. How are we going to work out whether what we just read in, when multiplied by a previous number, gives us 56? Yep.
Modulus counter, so that it checks whenever counter is even, and it takes the current one multiplied by the previous one.
Well, it's not just going to, it's not going to be based on the position. So just say for another example, I might have another example like array multiplied, I don't know, 1, 2, oh no, that's a bad example. I could have something like this, and we're going to have to go and check, and it's up to us. Do we check the 7, then the 1, then the 5, then the 4, then the 99, or do we check the 99, then the 4, then the 5, then the 1, then the 7? But we've got to search through all of that and somehow find, oh, yeah, 1 multiplied by 56 equals 56. Okay, so we've read one in. Oh, and what have I done wrong in my scanf? And VS Code is trying to help me. Yeah, ampersand. That's good. All right. So I've got some kind of an array. I'm not going to try and draw it without my pen because it will be messy. It's messy enough when I've got my pen. But imagine, yeah, imagine I've got this situation. Let's go to the, I'll take a few more out of here. Yeah, let's go to here. We're reading in, we've got 99, for example, 4, 1, 7, 56. Now we've got to go through this process each time, but let's just think about the process when we've just read in 56. What we're going to do is, what are we going to do? Yeah, so we're going to have to, you know, multiply it by all these different numbers one by one somehow. So to do that, we're going to need another loop, right? So in here, and this is where a diagram can help us get the indexes correct because it's very easy to be off by 1. So I'm going to use a for loop for int, and I'm just going to call it I. How many of these numbers are we checking? So we're going to go from 0, that will check 99. We'll say 99 multiplied by the current number, 56, gives us, I don't know, whatever. It's not 56. Then we're going to move to the next one. When are we going to stop? So in this example, we're stopping here. And in this example, I would have had my counter was equal to 0, and then I would increment it. Then my counter would be equal to 1, 2, 3. Do I want less than counter or less than or equal to counter? Oh. So we might have to think about that one. So here we've got our counter, which at this stage is equal to 3, is it? In this example. So I read in 99 and it was 0, it got incremented to 1. I read in 4, it got incremented to 1. I read in 1, it got incremented to 2. I read in 7, it got incremented to 3. I've just read in 4, but I haven't incremented it yet. So it should be 3 in this situation. So we're just going to go and I mean, it won't matter if you get it wrong in this case. We're just going to go back and just check. So if my array at index I multiplied by the thing I just read in, which is at index counter, if that equals 56, then we know we've found something. And then we want to stop our loop. How can we stop our loop in a situation like this? Yeah, so in this situation, I heard somebody call out break and I heard somebody call out return. That's true, we could use break or return. So the other thing is I've got to print something out. So what I would have to print out is, you know, whatever multiplied by whatever equals 56. And in this case, whatever is the array at index counter, and the other whatever is the array at index I. So we want to print that out, but we don't want to keep going. So yeah, our options in this case would be to break. Break would break out of this while loop and then finish. We're in the main function, so we could do return 0. That could finish it. The other thing is we could try and put it into our loop condition by having some kind of flag and say found multiple equals 0, and then here we could set it, but then we might have to put it inside this loop too, otherwise we might find more than one. Probably I'd go with a break personally, but yeah, you can use a flag to put it in that top condition. Especially in an exam, I'd use a break. Is this going to work? I don't know. We can't find out until we test it. Who thinks it's going to work? One person. Or are you asking a question? Oh, yeah.
When you're doing the flag thing with the integer,
Yeah.
I did it in my assignment like multiple times. Do I have to explain the numbers I'm setting to? Like, do I have to say, oh, this is equal to 0? Or do I have to like hash define the 0?
Oh, look. Style-wise, it can be good in these situations to have true or false if you're declaring a flag variable, because we are using it. So if I'm having something like found and I set it to false, yeah, that's going to be better in an assignment and more meaningful than just putting 0. In an exam, if you just put 0, that's not going to be so bad. Okay, does it work? I don't know. So here it's waiting for me to enter stuff. Let's do this 99, 4, 1, 7. Please work. Oh. We're inside another loop, so we haven't broken out. So what could we do? Yeah, we could, in this case, we could return, but imagine you were given a function to write, and this was in a function. Returning wouldn't be able to save you. But this will work. Okay, that works great. Imagine you were writing a function to do this. Sometimes we give you a function, not a whole program. Returning is not, oh, it's still going to get you back from the function. Yeah, probably will work. If we couldn't do this though, yeah, we would have to do this found thing. Probably int found is 0. Here I found it. And in this condition, you would be saying, well, found is equal to 0. Maybe you'd have a and found is equal to 0. Yeah. So breaks, returns, flags, these are things that can end your loop in situations like this. And any of those ways is fine as long as it works in the exam. Let's try again, because let's not pretend it works if it doesn't. Although please work. No, it didn't work. No. Do we want to debug this? It's not working. What's happening? Yes. So we've got to put found here because what's happening is, and this will trip you up. It's hanging on this. So until we entered this extra thing, because we've got a scanf in our loop, it was never going to check that found. It's waiting for us to type something in. Okay. So that's definitely, you know, I did that exact same thing last night when I just did this question. And then I did it again now, but not on purpose. So 99, 4, 1, 7, 56. Ah. So yeah, I like break best in these situations in an exam. All right. So there are a few other array hurdle ones that I've left for you to do. So we've done this one. There's a 2D one we might do, but I've got a whole heap of other ones that you can try it yourself. There's quite a few. To find all these, just go to lecture code. Oh no, don't go to week 8. Actually go to week 10. Go to lecture code. In here, there's hurdle 1 dots. We did all these the other day, but the ones that say stub don't have the answers. You can try them again, or try them if you didn't see it in the first place. And there's some ones for you to try yourself, self-study ones. Same with the hurdles 2 dot. There's one we just did. There's some set aside that you can try yourself. Some of them are past exam questions. Some of them are just ones made up for revision. And if anybody needs or wants any solutions to these ones, or you want a video that explains it, just let us know on the forum or email me. Okay. Who wants to debug a linked list? Who wants to debug a string? Who wants to do a Kahoot? Hands up for debug a linked list. Debug a string. Do a Kahoot. Okay, well, no Kahoot. Let's debug out, do a linked list. Now you've probably been doing a lot of debugging linked lists. And in the exam, you'll be doing debugging with linked lists. Not just because we purposely give you debugging questions, but also because there's no way you're gonna get through a whole exam without having any bugs in your code. It's just not possible. Well, it is, I guess, theoretically. So now this is a question we've done before, but we implemented it in a different way. And implementing it in a different way has given us different edge cases. So you might remember this from before, or you may not. I really like this example because it really has all of the different cases you're going to encounter with linked lists and all the different types of bugs. Right, we've got this, you're going to have the situation in this example of what if it's an empty list. We pretty much always have that, nearly always, if we're changing the list around. What if it's got one element, or you're doing something with the first element or the beginning of the list versus the end, versus you're not doing anything because what you were trying to do isn't valid for this list, etc. Okay, so with this particular example, we are doing a search and delete. We're trying to find something in the list and delete it. And potentially you've got to write something like this in the assignment, maybe with items. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. But in this one, in the last time we did it, we used 2 pointers, a current and a previous, and I really like doing things like that. The other way you can do it is like this. We're just using current and always saying, so we start at the beginning, and imagine I'm looking for 42. We put current at the first node, but we're checking the next node. So I check 17. Is that equal to 42, or is it null? No. So we move current along. So then current is here. But we're checking the next one. Is this equal to 42? Yes. So we're going to stop, right? In this example, if we're looking for 42, we're going to stop here. Then we're trying to delete it. So is everyone happy up to here? Then we're trying to delete it. When we need to delete it, we're going to hook up this current to the one after the node we want to delete, and we want to free this node. This is a situation where we can use some sort of any kind of pointer, named anything, to point to this node so we don't lose it, so we can free it. So we've done that. Temporary equals current next. Then we've said current next equals temporary next to connect this node to the one after we're deleting. Then we say free temporary. And when we've done that, we've deleted that node that we're looking for from the list. And in this example, we're just going to stop once we do one deletion. We're not going to delete all the occurrences. Any questions about this code that we've got? Okay, so I've coded it up, exactly that, and now we're running it and testing it and hoping it works. I'm trying it with an empty list, then I'm creating a list, and then I'm trying it with something in the middle of the list, a value that's not in the list. You know, 99 isn't going to be in the list. We shouldn't be able to find it. Something at the beginning, something at the end, etc. Yep. Yeah, question?
If you had, you used like a temporary variable, could you do it so that like you make the current equal to like the current next, would that still work?
Oh, back here, yeah, you could say, and you could say current equals current next, but if you do that, then you no longer have a pointer to this 42 node, which you need to either do something with or free.
You don't free current next then?
If you change, yeah, if you've put this link in here, right, and you don't have this pointer to here, you no longer have this pointer. Current next now takes you to here. So once you've linked that up, you've lost that node. You can't access it. That's why we need it. So yeah, you can do current next and stuff like that, but we need something to point to this node, whether we're trying to free this node in this case or connect it to another list like in some other cases. And yeah, in the other version I did with previous and current, we already had sort of two variable names, so we're fine. Yeah, that's a good question. All right, so let's see. Obviously, this isn't going to work, or otherwise it wouldn't be called a debugging question, right? Even the ones that aren't debugging questions end up with bugs in them too. All right, this has just already got test code hard-coded in. So remember, the first thing we're trying is to insert search and delete in an empty list. And straight away, it's crashing. So yeah, imagine you're really doing this in an exam or something, or in your assignment. What do you do? Well, I guess there's two things you can do. You can read, the first one is read the error message and see if it's completely obvious what you need to do. The other thing is try and draw a diagram and reason about what's going on in this particular case. Now, in this case, it's pretty clear cut because we know we're doing something with an empty list, and it's telling us that here on this particular line of code, current was equal to null, and we were saying null arrow next. We were dereferencing a null pointer. So in this particular case, what are we going to do? How do we fix this? I've got this error. My code's here. It's telling me on this particular line there's current is equal to null. So if I'm trying to search and delete and I've got an empty list, am I going to ever find something to delete if I've got an empty list. So if I've got an empty list, I should just basically do nothing. I've just got to return the list I already had, which was the head of the list, which is null. But by doing this, I'm not getting this error where we've got this current next. So anytime you see a loop like this, while current next is not equal to null, you know it's going to crash if you don't have a special case for an empty list. Is everyone sort of happy with that? And you can see here right now, oh, in this case, head and current were null, and it crashed on this line, and that's really important information to help you. As also knowing what situation you're in, like that we had an empty list. Now let's have a look at what's happening now. We got through the empty list case. We were able to delete something in the middle of the list. So that general case that we were looking at worked, but when we're trying to delete a value that's not found, we're getting a runtime error. So we're searching through the whole list for 99, it's not in there, but our code is still trying to free something or access something. So we can see where the line is, but we don't want to just start randomly coding to try and get rid of this error if we don't know why we're doing it or what we're doing. So let's think about it. What a bad day to lose my pen. Let's think about it. In our loop, we're moving current along until current next is equal to null. So current, I'll just write C. If we're looking for 99, it's never going to find it, but it's going to stop at the last node when current next is equal to null. Does everyone agree? But then what it tries to do is it tries to connect this node to the one after the next one, right? It tries to put a temporary here at current next, and then it tries to say current next equals temp next, and then it just crashes then. Does everyone see why? So in this situation, we need a case for if, temp is null. Temp's the one we're trying to delete. If temp or temporary, whatever I called it, is null, there's nothing to delete. We can't dereference it. We can't do anything. We should stop because we didn't find it. So in our code, oh, that's not the code. It's this part here that's crashing because temporary is null. So we've got to realize, okay, this is what happens if we didn't find anything to delete. And in that case, we just don't want to do anything. So we can wrap this up in an if statement to say, well, we only want to do this if we did find something to delete. Does that make sense? Any questions? Is this going to solve all of our problems? It doesn't crash anymore. Let's have a look. It worked fine now when it was 99. We ended up with the same list. But down here, we're trying to search and delete naught, and it hasn't been deleted. So that obviously isn't crashing, but it's not working. So now we've really got to, we don't have any error messages to help us. We've really got to work out what's going on. So if we think about the way this works, let's go back to my other diagram. Oh, not that far. I'm going the wrong way. The way this works is, let's get rid of this. Our current starts here. What's the first piece of data that it checks? So current is here. What's the first piece of data it's ever checking? So it's always checking current next data. So we set current to the first node, and then we're checking, oh, is this equal to the one we're looking for? We move current along. We check the next one. Is this equal to what we're looking for? We move current along. Is this equal to what we're looking for? And we stop. What's the only value in the list we never check the data inside of? Yeah, this first node, we've never checked it in this loop. So we've got to have a special case. What if it's the first one in the list that we're never checking the way we've set this up, always checking the next one? So once you understand why it's not working, it's hopefully a little bit easier to write code for it. You can think, well, before I even do this loop, I can just check if this first node has the data in it that I'm looking for, then I want to delete it. When we're doing this, this is just like deleting something from the beginning of the list, because that's exactly what we're doing. So we need to change the head. We would say head equals head next. Then what would we do? Free, and in this case, it would be current, right? So what we would be doing, and then we want to return, we don't want to start looking through the rest of the loop. If it's at the beginning of the list, let me just go back to here. Yeah, we would say head equals head next, and then we can free this one because we've got something pointing to it. All right, so let's just check if that worked. Did I save it? Yep. No. Oh. Did it work? It did. Then luckily, so 0's gone. It seems to work for searching and deleting at the end of the list, and it seems to have passed all of the test cases. All right. Any questions about this? Okay, so this isn't an easy chunk of code to write and get correct. You know, it's very easy to miss one of these cases. And you know, if this was an exam question and you did miss some of these cases, you wouldn't get 0, right? You'd get, you know, depends how many of them you missed, you'd get marks. All right. I do want to go for a break in a minute. I do want to do a Kahoot though today. So let's just do one Kahoot, have a break, come back, do more coding, and see how we go. So this is the final Kahoot. And there mightn't be many people, so you might be guaranteed a prize. No players yet. And today for prizes, for the first 3, we've got CSC mugs and other, and chocolates, of course. Oh, the music. I didn't even notice the music wasn't on. What's happening to me? It's playing in my head. All right. I'll just wait another minute. Are you guys trying to play and win? Yeah, okay, see if you can beat the tutors. I didn't, last time in Jake's lecture, I didn't win it and I'd seen the answers. I'd honestly seen the answers. All right, I was just too slow. Yeah, you can pretend, you can. All right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's start. Bonus chocolates if you find a wrong answer. Wow, amazing. Very good code readers. And arithmetic. Right. It's hard doing these ones when they shuffle where it is and B's here and A's there and C's there, isn't it? What's happening here? Yeah, we've got to free, if I've got a node with data in it that needs to be freed, so I've got a node, it's got a string in it. I need to free this first, the string first. Otherwise, I'm not going to have the field to access if I free the struct first. So we've got to, yeah, free the data inside it first if it needs to be free. Doesn't unless it's been mallocked, and then the node itself. Okay, what am I doing? What was D? Okay. Yeah, free n is how you do it normally if you didn't have a mallocked string in it. All right, let's keep going. Smiling newt, is that the tutors? I don't know. We've got a long time for this one though. Oh, well done. A lot of people got it right. That's a lot of code to read. But basically, I was starting at index 9, so I starting here, as soon as we say I+1, we're going beyond the end of the array. Okay, we're doing I+1, I started at 9. Yep. So we get a runtime error.
Wait, what's the difference here? Runtime error and like it won't compile?
A runtime error or versus when it won't compile. When it won't compile, you've written sort of something that is syntactically incorrect, like a missing semicolon or something. A runtime error is when all of that's fine. Everything you've written is legal in that sense, but when you're running, it's going to do something like, yeah, go outside of memory freeze something twice, access a null pointer. But other than that, all of the actual code, it's like having correct spelling versus saying something sensible in an essay, you know? All right. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, it does copy over this string. Because it fits in the string, it's going to fit in, and string copy will do that anyway. It's going to fit in, it's going to have that null terminator, so it'll copy over comp with rules, but then it'll have a null terminator, so the rest will be treated as garbage. Okay. I hope you're all taking this as seriously as Sophia is. Yeah, so this one, this is not going to fit. String 1 would be made exactly to fit that particular string. This one's longer, it's not going to fit in. Does that make sense? Oh. Okay. Yep, so a lot of people got that right. Yeah, remember we passed in a copy of it, so x is equal to 30. That's only within this function. Yep, so that's why the blue one isn't correct. All right. A few more to go. Yeah, it should be a runtime error. So you're going to get a null, dereferencing a null pointer. Who's getting a lot of these right now in the assignment? Probably, yeah. Ooh. Oh, this is a cruel one again. Wow, lots of people got it right.
Wait, do we even have to pass in a pointer?
Well, here we're passing in a pointer because we don't want it to, we're not passing in the whole array. We want to pass in the one at index 2.
Wait, but,
We're just passing in the address of one thing.
oh,
And then we're just changing that one thing to be multiplied by 2.
but if we pass in the whole array, we don't actually need the pointer.
Yeah, if we just wanted to pass in the whole array, we could, just pass in it without any kind of ampersand or any index. That would then just do the one in the first position. Yep. Okay. Oops. Just get rid of this. Oh, what am I doing? How do I get rid of this? Yay. Right, last question. This is the hardest one. Get ready. How are you going to get this one right? No. They were all right. Okay. So, who do we have? Lovely Bat. Do we have Lovely Bat? Yes, we've got Lovely Bat. Prairie Urchin. Prairie Urchin. Congratulations. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Does somebody else know how to pronounce it? Where's first place? Is first place here? So they're the ones with the cups, right? Okay, cool. Who came fourth and fifth? Fourth? Fifth? Oh, this was... I don't think first is here. Or they don't want to tell us. Since first isn't here, the next place, fourth, can have it, yep. And is there anyone fifth? Fifth, yep, awesome. All right, we can have a, yep. Sorry? Oh, you've got a question about one of the questions, yep. Which question? Question 5. Oh, okay. Everyone, do you want to have a break? Come back at about 10 past, quarter past. All right, and yeah, come and ask. All right, so we'll have a break. So yeah, somebody had a question about question 5. I think they meant from the Kahoot. Oh, so this is the question. Yeah, we've got this string, COMP1511, and that's going to be made exactly, we haven't put a size in here, it's going to be made exactly the right size to fit in exactly that string and the null terminator. And we're trying to copy this into it. And we've got R, U, L, Z, 4, E, V, A, exclamation mark, and then the null terminator. So it writes over the end of the string. And this will give us a runtime error. We're going over the bounds of that array. Okay, so that's the answer for question 5. All right. So, yeah, this is a sample debugging question. Like you might get, in the exam, you'll have 4 debugging questions. So the first thing you need to do, you do have to have some understanding of what the question's asking you. Otherwise, you're just randomly changing things. Okay, so this one, we're trying to enter a string, enter another string, and then combine them together and print it out. And you might have one way of doing it, but you're going to be given this code that does it however they wanted to do it, and you've got to debug it. Now you can assume that probably they've said, don't worry, we won't do anything bigger than 100 or 50 or something like that in size. What's the first thing though that we'll do now? We'll just try and compile it. Because they might compile when you get them, they might not. So we've got some compiler errors. We always want to look at the first. We've got warnings and errors. Now, always look at the warnings. What's wrong with line, this is telling us 19. What's wrong with line 19? Yeah, and VS Code tries its hardest to even alert us to this, right? And we've got another one. I can see another one straight after it. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to try compiling again, because then you often, and I'm going to clear this so I can clearly see these errors. Now it's saying on line 29, we don't have anything called len1 and len2. What do we think maybe, even without knowing what's really happening here, what do you think these might be, mistaken as? What should we have written? Yeah, probably this is meant to be length and length. Oh, it's in another place as well. It's in another place as well. Maybe I should have changed the first one to be len and this, anyway. We've got no more compile errors. Does this mean we're done and we've got our 5 marks for the question? Probably not. Let's run it. And let's type in the example we were given, pass word, and we're only getting P. So clearly something's wrong. Now, can anyone just looking see something that might tell us why we're only getting P? Something simple. I heard a few things, but yeah, there's possibly other things wrong, but we have no chance of printing out the whole answer if we're just printing out the first character. So let's change that, and we can see pass. Oh, so we've got pass, but we don't have word. Unfortunately, now we're going to have to think about what's going on. So this is the part here where we're copying things over. So here it seems like we've read the strings in fine. If we assume that string length from the string library works, we're all good here. This is an error check. But over here we're trying to move things into our string. So I starts at 0 and I is going, now what, just so we've got some real numbers, the length of our first string is going to be what in this case? 4. So we've got code that's taken the new line away for us that we didn't have to write. And that code has promised us that it's correct and we don't need to debug it. So sometimes in the exam it'll tell you, you don't have to debug this part, don't worry. So length 1 should be 4. Length 2 should be 4 as well. So here we're trying to copy over, which doesn't make sense to me. We're going from I equals 0 up to I equals 8, right? Does everyone agree? I 0, I is less than or equal to length 1 plus length 2. Yep. So what we're going to be trying to do is copy string 1 into this concatenated string. So we'd be copying over P for index 0. Actually, let me do it here. P. Then we'd be getting A, S, whatever, S, but then we'd still be going. And what would we be putting in here? Just whatever random garbage that we have in the rest of this 50 string, right? So in this case, yeah, but we don't need to. How far do we need to go if we're copying just the first string into another string? We just need to go up to, we don't need this second length. We're just copying the first string across. Do we want to go up to less than or equal the length? We might as well. It does kind of matter because do we want this here? If we want to eventually print out password from this string, we don't want this null terminator here because it's going to end it after pass.
We'll be overwriting it anyways.
We might overwrite it depending on how we do it. So this could be an issue here. Let's just not put it there, but no, we haven't put it there. There's nothing at index 4. We've just done that. Down here, we're going from index 4. That's where we're starting. That sounds good because it's at index 4 that we want the next letters. And we're going for the whole length of the second string. Does this look right? Yeah, we've already started at length 1 and now we're only going up to length 2. So here we were going from 4 up to 4, right? We weren't taking into account that we're starting halfway through the string. Our eyes are already going up to length 1. We now want to do the extra. So now this is going to go up to 8. Is this going to work? Why is this not going to work?
Should be string 2 of I minus length 1.
Yeah, so if we do it like this, we're going into string 2, which has word in it. We're starting at index 4, which is like at the end of it. So we're copying into index I in the second array, but this array here, what is it going to be? Yeah, minus length 1. So what we want to do is at index 4 in concat, we want to put what is index 0 from string, right? So that would copy the W over. So that's going to be at index 0, which is I minus length 1. Okay. Do we want to go up to less than or equal to? Yeah, we do, because that's going to give us that final null terminator. Is this going to work? Oops. Was that something weird I accidentally pressed? Oh, I can't type. Yeah, so it's working, it's working. Does it work if we do like this and this? Yeah, seems to. So, you know, you might have to do stuff like this, and you might need to draw the array to get those, or map it out a bit to get those indexes correct. Yep.
So when you do this, it doesn't like overwrite the original word inside concat?
Well, here concat was just an empty array. So we wrote word, pass into this one, and then word into this one, and then we wanted to copy over pass into this one. So that's why we did this loop here. We copied everything from string 1 up to the length of it, so that was PASS, into this array. Then the next loop, we continued at that position in concat. That's why we started at I is equal to length 1.
Okay.
And then we copied everything from string 2 into concat as well.
Oh, I see.
So that's what this loop down here is doing. But this loop, we've got to get all of the different indexes right, because when we're copying it, this is index 0, 1, 2. This is index 4 in concat, but index 0 in Word. Right? So then you've got to do some sort of addition or something. Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes you're going to need to write it down or type it out like this to get those indexes correct. All right. I think that's all the time we've got to do programming examples, but I've got some 3-dot examples as well for people to try. And I can give you the solutions of them later when you want them. But just keep in mind, all of these questions that we didn't have time today to do, because I purposely made too many, you'll find them in here. So you go look at the slide to find out more details. That one doesn't have many details in it. It does on the slide. Where am I going? Okay, array substring. There's 3 dots. There's lots of 2 dots. Some of them which we've done, some are for self-study, etc. Okay, and that's just in the week 10 live code. Oh, the other thing is, one more thing before we get the tutors up. Oh, I've already said MyExperience. Please do MyExperience. I can promise you if we get to 60, I'll release all those solutions. I shouldn't do that though, I should just release them. We're not going to release the bloopers from that welcome video like somebody did suggest. If we get to 85, but this might be a punishment. If we get to 85%, you get the blooper video from the welcome video. That might discourage people from answering MyExperience. just quickly, I've said this before, but when we did the email management system, there was a linked list question or a linked list function called split folder. That would be kind of like a 3-dot question. So I encourage you to try this if you're looking at trying to do question 10 in the exam. You're given, because this one's got a setup where you've got a more complicated struct, and you're not just doing one thing. You've got to work out what to do. You've got to problem solve. You're trying to move things from one list to another. So this is a good way to practice like a 3-dot linked list question. And again, you can find, I would go to this one here and jump down and do the split one, and there's test code. Or you can go, if you didn't see the lecture, go try the whole thing by looking at the starter code. All right.
Does it have auto test for it?
It doesn't have auto test. It just has a test file, sort of like CS Dungeon stage 1 test file. And we also did this, when did we do this? In week 9 in one of the lectures. So you can go and get more tips. We didn't actually do this particular question, but yeah, there's a test framework set up. All right, so who's coming up now? So we're getting the tutors to come up, but I don't know, Sophia, Brianna, and is it John that's coming up? All right. Okay, so this is just a bit of a Q&A with the tutors. So I don't know if you really want any more exam tips. A lot of people have been asking what to enroll in next term, about getting internships and jobs, and about being a tutor. So this is Brianna. Brianna's done an amazing job all term on the chat. So please thank Brianna. This is Sophia. Sophia's done an amazing job. She's like done admin for the course and is keeping the course running, and you've probably all had emails from Sophia. And you know, this has 1,200-ish students, this course, so there's a lot of people helping and doing stuff, and yeah, Sophia's done an amazing job. And John, who's here every week doing the camera and the live streaming and also the lecture moderating and chat as well. And who also wrote CS Moonlander, the first assignment. So he's, you can blame him for that. Yeah, so do I need to give you guys?
I'll just grab the other one, actually.
Yeah? So do one of you want to, does anyone have any questions first, or do you just want them to tell you stuff about what they think? Just start. Sophia, what about exam tips? Do you have any exam tips?
Exam tips. Ooh, there's a mic. Okay. My top exam tips would be to do some timed practice before the exam. So pick out like those extra revision questions that we give you and try and sit down for a couple hours at a time and do as many as you can. And also, besides like studying, I think it's important to remember that for most people, once you get through the hurdles, the rest of the exam is just for marks, right? So take that stress off yourself and know that once you've gotten through those first like 2 to 4 questions, it's all right. And it's just playing a game for marks at that point. So you don't need to panic or freak out or anything. It's just to see how well you can do. But also don't stress if you get stuck, because Q10 and 11 are known to be hard. And like, I don't know if these guys can agree with me on this, but I know like, when I did the course, I did not do the last question, and I didn't even finish the second last one. Like I got halfway through, and clearly I turned out all right, and I'm graduating a computer science degree. So it's not the end of the world if you can't do those last couple questions. Like it's fine. So don't stress out too much. You have tips as well?
My exam tip is time box. So I like to just say like, oh, I'm going to spend an hour doing the first 4 questions. And once I hit that 1 hour, I just move on. Like you're not really going to get much further along. And so I write it down on my little working out piece of paper. Like by this time, I want to be up to here. And I just constantly keep looking at the clock. And if I'm noticing, oh, I haven't quite met my goal. And if I'm like, oh, maybe just 5 more minutes. And I'll only give myself maybe 5 more minutes, like once or twice. and I'll just keep moving on. I think it's very easy to get stuck in a rabbit hole and not be able to get out. So just set yourself some times and just move on. And maybe from doing a different question, you can come back and be like, oh, I now know what I have to do. Yeah.
Do you have tips as well, John?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much, I think, very helpful. The only other thing is, like, don't get stuck. So feel free to come back to things, and yeah, time budget.
Okay. Any questions about any of that? Any other questions about the exam for any of us before we move on? Okay. So lots of people have been asking about what they should enroll in next term, but then also, you know, other terms as well. Especially people have been asking, what's the difference between COMP1511 and COMP1521? What about COMP2521? I don't know if you've heard of these codes. We all talk in the codes, right? But yeah, did you want to give any of your advice on, you know, what to enroll in next?
So yeah, a lot of students after 1511, if you're in a computer science program or in advanced computer science, you're probably looking at taking 1521, which stands for
Programming, Computer Systems Fundamentals.
Computer Systems Fundamentals, there you go. And then 2521, which is Data Structures and Algorithms, and then COMP1531, which is Software Engineering Fundamentals. Don't get fooled by the fact that 2521 starts with the number 2, so it's like harder, and like number 1 means that it's easier. It's just the way the university like categorizes it. It doesn't necessarily mean they're harder or easier. My recommendation is always to do 2521 straight after this. So what you'll learn in 2521 in data structures and algorithms is you'll learn more things. So linked list is a data structure and arrays are a data structure. But you'll get to learn things about trees and graphs and tries and hash maps and sets and all this kind of fun stuff. And this is a really great way for you to realize if you really like doing your degree, because it will challenge you a lot. But once you get through to the end, you pretty much unlock a lot of computer science electives, because you basically need to do 2521 to unlock a lot more of the computer science electives. So I would always recommend doing 2521 first. The reason why I wouldn't recommend doing 1521 or 1531 is because in 1521, it's really the nitty-gritty stuff about how computer systems work. It doesn't necessarily, challenge you to think more about how can I solve a problem. So if you're not really one of those people that like doing this, and then you take it straight off the 1511, you might find it very disheartening. Did you want to add on to that, Angela? I know you lectured it. You used to lecture it, so.
Yeah. No, I don't want to add on to that.
Okay.
It's not for me to say.
And then I really wouldn't recommend taking 1531 until you're probably in your second year, only because 1531 is a group project. And basically most first years do not have the maturity to do a group project. And what I mean by this is you need to be able to work effectively as a team. So you as an individual need to know how to allocate time, and there's a sequence of tasks to be done. For example, like person A needs to be doing this in the first 3 days so that person B can do this in the middle of the 2-week sprint. And if you're just not at a level where you can keep up to date with your deadlines and understand that certain things need to happen first before other things, then you're really going to struggle in a group assignment context with 1531, which is why I kind of recommend for you to do it in second year after you've played around with a bit more computer science courses and a bit more of the languages. But that's really open to interpretation, but I think I would just not do it straight after 1511. It's very tough. That's my recommendation. I'm going to pass on to Sophia.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay. I did 1521 and 2521 directly after 1511 together, and then 1531 in the following term. And I agree with exactly what Brianna has said about 2521 being really, really important for your understanding of programming. And another thing is that 2521 is in C, and 1521 is C and MIPS, which is very closely related. 1531 is JavaScript and TypeScript. So I came into uni not really programming before, so I was still understanding the syntax of C coming out of 1511 and still having to remember my semicolons and things like that. So having to throw in a new language straight away would have been very overwhelming for me, which is another thing to consider. I do think it's good to just consolidate your C knowledge and kind of understand everything in that part before moving on to another language and doing web servers. And it's just completely different content in 1531. So 1521 and 2521, whichever you pick, I think they do follow on quite nicely from 1511 in different ways. Do you have anything to add?
I mean, yeah, I think that's the most important stuff. For sure, 2521 next if you can. The other thing I guess to say is if you know where you want to take your degree, so if you know I'm really interested in low-level computing, I want to do operating systems, advanced operating systems, that sort of thing, it might be worth for you taking 1521 next, but I wouldn't give that general advice.
Cool. Any questions in the room?
Yeah, questions.
Is there, wait, is it really that bad to take 1521 next?
It's not bad to take 1521. I would just pick 2521 over 1521. We're not saying they're bad courses. We're just saying 2521 is a better choice.
You can also do them both together.
You can also
That's
do
what I did.
at the same time.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have the option for 2521.
Oh, no, 1521's, I think it's a great course. It is still in C, but you go down into the sort of depths of how things work under the surface. You learn more about, how is an integer stored in like binary or hexadecimal, more about memory, a little bit about intro to operating systems, but very intro level.
Does the knowledge transfer over pretty nicely?
Yeah, well, you need to be, it builds on C, so you do more with C. And you do, yeah. So I think they're right in that it's good to not come back ages later and have forgotten C and then do 1521, or 2521. Unless you've programmed in C for years and it like, the back of your hand and it doesn't matter. But, otherwise you don't want to forget it.
Saw a hand.
Yeah. Could you talk about more about like what the majors are and like who are they for?
I think anything that's like related to the majors, because they keep changing every year, and so you should always contact the Student Nucleus Hub because we would only remember what we've picked. I'm in the non-major major, which I think most people kind of end up doing. I think if you pick one of the majors, there are just some specialized courses you have to take. But once again, like we're not doing any of those majors, so you'd really have to ask Nucleus or look at the handbook for that.
Say something about majors. If you're doing computer science, your major isn't super important. I'd say it's more important that you're doing the electives in what you're interested in rather than following a major because the industry and it's so broad and there's so much to learn. So you'll find a lot of students, it's very common for them to do one databases course, one front-end course, one security course, an OS course, networks, and AI, and they might like touch a bit of everything. And when you're graduating uni, this might seem like a little bit of way. When you're going for roles, say for example, you're going for a security role, they're not going to turn away from you if you don't have the security major. As long as you have like the computer science or software engineering degree, that's usually more than enough. So the majors, like, don't panic too much about needing to pick a major straight away. Explore the space a little bit if you have the opportunity to as well. Just something to think about there.
Yep, I agree.
About 1531,
You're doing it.
what is like the level of freedom we have for selecting our own group?
So in the most recent terms, what it's been is you get to pick or nominate a partner, and if that partner also nominates you back, by the way, you have to be enrolled in the same tute lab. Then those partners are grouped together. So your pair will be grouped with another pair. So you may not necessarily get your friends as the other pair, but you'll be guaranteed to have at least one friend and that friend to like you back as well in your group. Is that cool? Yep.
And do you think it's good to work with your friends in groups?
It can be a hit or a miss. Working with friends. Do with that information what you will. Pick your friends wisely.
I saw a hand up there.
Yeah.
Also, me and my friend are considering taking 2521 over the summer.
Oh.
Would you recommend doing any comp cycles over the summer?
So the question was
Summer
taking computer science courses over the summer.
And we're considering 2521.
And they're considering 2521. Honestly, I'm just anti summer courses in general. I love having my summer off. I like being able to do whatever I want. I think the way the summer courses are structured is that it's very compact. So I think you're going to like 3 or 4 classes a week, and you're trying to. It's a 4-week term, so it's a really intense 4 weeks. So if that's the kind of environment you can, do well in, then sure. But I would say that for the most part, a lot of students prefer taking a bit slower over the 10 weeks.
Especially 2521.
Especially 2521. There's a lot new concepts they're throwing at you. You're pretty much gonna, if you do it in the 4 weeks, you're probably learning 4 things like every week. So it'd be very tough to keep up. But it's your personal choice. Try doing it in the summer. If you really don't like it, you can drop out the summer course and then do it again later in the year.
It's very good if you're repeating it, that's for sure. But yeah, I think it is tough. But some people do better sort of just focusing on one thing and just spending all their time on it. Not everyone's like that, so yeah.
Tim has a question.
Oh, is this? Yeah.
From the chat.
Do you recommend a double degree in aerospace and computer science for a better job market in Australia? Oh. I can neither confirm nor deny. If you're thinking about switching to double in computer science, I think wait until you do maybe 1 or 2 more computer science courses before you switch to computer science. John and I actually switched into computer science. We were doing different degrees before this. And I think we waited a bit too long. We waited till we were in 4th year. But some people, they usually switch in their 2nd year. But we can't really comment so much about the job market because that's always changing every year. I have 0 comments on aerospace.
Me neither.
If you want information on the job market specific to your field, a great resource is the student societies, where you can talk to students who have been in the same position as you, maybe made a similar degree swap, or maybe are trying to get into the industry and have insight, or talking to industry representatives at careers fairs run by student societies.
Thank you.
The default answer.
There's someone up there.
Anything, yeah.
What's a good course to take next term if you want to decide if you like computer science?
What's a good course to take if
Yeah.
you want to decide if you like computer science? 2521.
Comp 25.
Comp 2521. It will push you and it will make you realize a lot of things. So there was a question about Comp 2041, which is software construction. It is a good course and it's considered an elective. It's not a core course. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it straight after 1511 because it doesn't really push you to answer those questions about do I like doing computer science. And it's a very
it's a lot in the terminal. So you've just started using the terminal this term at uni. So I think if you do another comp course before hitting that one, just to be a little more comfortable with your environment, that'll be very helpful. But love that course.
It's a really great course. It's really useful. Yeah. Most people really like
I
it,
loved
right?
it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite courses.
And
that
the
I've done.
lecturer, Andrew Taylor, is really amazing.
yes.
Comp 2041, software construction.
Yeah,
It's an
really
elective.
useful.
I think if you're in software engineering, it might be a core course for you. I saw a hand. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just like a fun question, but like, do you guys think that, because I imagine some of you have taken discrete maths, right? Or maybe all of you.
I think we had to, right?
Have you taken it?
John hasn't taken
John
it.
hasn't taken it yet,
I
but
know that's requirement for comp students. I was wondering whether that has actually helped you when it comes to doing comp sci stuff.
So
Or like it was
Do you wanna
a waste
take
of
it?
time or
it was so long ago.
yeah, so the question was how useful is Math 1081 discrete maths in computer science? It's a core course for a reason, right? I would say there are some things from the course where I don't even remember doing it, and then I looked at like my course notes and I was like, oh, I did this. I think a lot of things that you pick up from the course is more about the set notation and understanding how to do like negation of like really complex if statements and stuff. So that kind of skill is really helpful. But I would say, and graph theory is really helpful as well. But I would say that there's a reason why it's a core course. There's a lot of things that are transferable, but for some people, if you just get it, you won't necessarily need discrete maths to help you get it. But some people need discrete maths to help them get the concepts, if that sort of makes sense.
I think there are electives where you might need to use that sort of stuff more.
Yeah.
Where you're doing sort of more sort of formal proof type things rather than practical coding. Like, yeah. All right. Other questions we've been getting is, well, maybe not that many people have asked, but how to become a tutor. And where do you recommend it?
Do I recommend it?
what can
Guys,
they
what do
say?
we think? We've collectively been tutoring for a very long time. I think we're all hitting our double digits or have hit our double digits in terms already.
I'm not that old.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sophie's a youngin. But John and I have definitely hit double digits by now. I would say that, so the formal process of becoming tutor, so you'll get an email soon from Andrew Taylor, and it'll probably say something like 25T1, or tutoring at 25T1 CSE, something like that. Some of those keywords will be in the subject heading. He uses the same email template every term, so like you'll see the email, like every single thing is the exact same thing. So next term after this, you'll get another email looks exactly the same. And in that email, it'll outline the things you need to do on the formal side. So there's 2 applications you need to do. So one via UNSW and one via Talok, which is the CSE version of applications. So the one via UNSW is just really formal things like, who are you? Please upload, your proof of identity, these kind of things. Whereas on the Talok side, it'll ask more questions about what courses are you interested in tutoring, what makes you a good tutor, and it'll even ask you to upload a video of you teaching something. And that's the main kind of thing that the admin team, so not me, Sophia, and Angela uses to kind of decide on like who they're going to hire back next term. I would say that for 1511, it's a very competitive process to get in. And there are ways to like stand out from other applicants. So that could be things like, being really a very good forum, contributor. So you'll be answering other people's questions, or, you'll ask lots of questions or post really interesting things on the forum. Or maybe in your labs, your tutors have noticed that you're like just generally a really helpful student to other students. And there are a bunch of like the not full marks exercises like P1511 or the student becomes a teacher, those sort of exercises from the last 3 labs that you can do. And those basically ask you to post a little tidbit or a little video like on the forum. And those kind of things help you stand out from like, I think it's like hundreds of applications that the admin team gets every term. But I personally, I didn't start tutoring until the second term after I did 1511. And I think it was just great to get out of the mindset of being a student and then straight into a tutor side. If you become a tutor, there's a lot of support for you as a first-time tutor. So you'll get to do lab assisting for a couple terms before you pick up your own tutorial. I've been speaking for a long time. I think being a tutor is really fun, and it can be challenging because your hours are very weird sometimes. And it often feels like you're doing a 4th course because you have to put a lot of like time and effort into 1511 sometimes. There's a lot of emails you respond to. There's a lot of advocating for your own students that you have to do. So if that's something that you're ready to handle and to take on, then yeah, do it.
Yeah, and also if you do it, just be honest with yourself and whoever the lecturer is about your time commitments, and make sure you're not overloading yourself and stressing yourself out. Take on a manageable load. That goes for other jobs as well, but we sometimes need the money, right?
Sorry? You can find our pay rates on the internet. We're not going to disclose it.
The pay
but
rates
you can
are
find
on the
it.
internet.
If you know how to Google, you'll find it.
I just want to mention that, like Brianna said, it's very competitive, so don't get disheartened if you think you did all the right things in becoming a tutor. Sometimes hiring is based on how many of our tutors want to return, how many are graduating, how many students we have, how many classes we have. So there are a lot of factors that come into play. And also, if you're the kind of student who just started programming this term and you really love the course, just because you're not completing all the 3 dots and you're not the most cracked person out there does not mean we're not going to look at you. We hire students from all different backgrounds, and we love the students who are really advanced, and we love the students who also put in the effort and have a strong understanding of the course and can empathize with other students who come into the course with a similar background as them. Like, I know I was not the most cracked student, and the lecturer took a chance on me when she hired me after doing the course. So you don't have to be you don't have to be getting 100s in your assignments or anything like that. We look at so much more than just your marks, and we see that in your video. So if you show that you're passionate about teaching and the course in your video, that's where you're going to shine, and that's how we'll notice you if you're that kind of student. Do you want to say anything on it?
I guess the only other thing with the video, one thing that's very useful, especially in 1511 compared to other courses, if you tutor other courses, it's a lot more marking. 1511, if you can explain a complex topic really clearly and in a few different ways that might work for different students, that's probably one of the most important skills.
There was a question.
Yeah, this is my question.
Oh, perfect.
What's a good teaching tip?
Oh, well, there you go. John just got you
John's
there.
already said the good teaching tip. Yeah.
Any other questions in the room? Yeah.
What should we do if in exam you don't understand what the question is asking, or it's not very clear to you?
You can raise your hand and ask an invigilator. They can't help you like they can in a lab, but sometimes it may be the way the question is written. So you might need a clarification being added to the question. So definitely ask your invigilator, but sometimes it is just a case of taking a step back, going to a different question, and then rereading it carefully maybe half an hour later. But definitely if you think there's something actually wrong with the wording or something isn't making sense, do let your invigilator know, because outside the exam, Enzo and I will be there, and if anything's wrong, we can make adjustments to the paper as needed.
The invigilators, do they understand like the exam?
Yes, all of them are comp tutors, so they either tutor 1511 or a higher comp level course.
And if there's something they're not sure of, they'll come and ask us, and we'll just be right outside so we can, help.
There was one more thing over here.
Having been through a lot more courses than we have, what draws you to computer science still?
What was the question?
What draws us to computer science still after doing so many courses?
This is a classic
This
interview
is
question.
I guess I can start because I've got the mic in my hand.
Thanks.
Personally, I really like the intersection of problem solving and creativity with code, and personally, I'm really interested in like front end and usability and making tech accessible for everyone. So I really like that the work that I do has immediate affordance to me when I can see my website like be built and see it used by customers and people. So I think it's just really fun to solve problems that can actually impact people's lives. And software is something that's so, like, it's not tangible. Like, it's not like mechanical engineering where you're physically building something, but you're still building something really cool in an abstract, creative, problem-solving way. Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm going to stop talking before that gets exposed.
We'll have to wrap up in a minute.
I think we just have two more questions.
Yes, yep.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go with him first.
Yeah, internships.
How do I get internships?
Do you want to take it?
So I think getting internships, so the usual industry practice is you kind of need to be in your penultimate year. So your penultimate year basically means your second last year before you graduate. So it's quite industry practice for you to be in your penultimate year. And I would say like all the jobs are posted on LinkedIn. If you're in student societies, they'll also release like job advertisements and things like that. So that's something you really kind of need to follow. It is 100% your responsibility to be like up to date with these things, right? So if the application date closes, no one's going to open it up again for you, right? You need to keep an eye out and like literally always every day just looking and saying, hey, is there something I need to apply to that I haven't applied to? Checking your emails that, I have an actionable from so-and-so to do this and that. I said there's not much really for you right now in your first year to do because this really happens when you're in second year. So this is why we would recommend taking things like 2521 and 1521 and databases and 2041 and those kind of courses because that gives you a really well-rounded approach or understanding of the things you kind of need to know before your internship. So it's a good question, but it's just maybe better say for maybe when you're a bit older.
Also, too, don't worry if you don't think you're going to get it. Like, apply for these things. If you don't get them, it doesn't matter. You've got an application ready that you can use to apply for the next one. Don't try and guess whether they're going to hire you first. Just go and try your best.
You get better with every application.
You never know.
Yeah.
And you might get it. So just go for it.
And there's a bajillion
All right.
guides on the application stuff online.
All right, I just wanted to thank everybody, all the staff, the amazing staff. So I've already thanked you guys. There's Tim who's sitting there doing lecture modding right now. So thank you, Tim, and doing the camera. We also had Olivia who wrote assignment 2, all the people who have been on the forums, just all the tutors in general, and all the other admins, Grace, Nicole, Ibby, and Daniel. So thanks so much to all of them. And all you guys, you've been a great bunch of students. So I hope that you do well with the assignment and the exam, and I hope that you've learnt lots of stuff this term. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.